Good afternoon, folks.
We're starting.
Welcome to an introduction to Chilkat and to a degree, ChilkatVFP. I'm Bill Anderson. As you can see by the slide, you can contact me at the slide below. Oh, you want me to speak up? Okay, sure. Is this?
You can turn it on if you want.
It's up to you guys. Where's the? I don't even know where the.
Slide switch on the top. Point it up at your sound hole.
Okay, how's that? That's nothing. Oh, wrong way. How's that, folks?
Oh, is the speaker on? Oh, and it's in the.
Well, that's only for. This is not this for. That's just for.
You guys tell me.
Yeah.
Is it good now?
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, well, a lot of you guys know me, Bill Anderson, Anderson Files LLC. You can contact me at the Gmail here, ChilkatVFP at Gmail. For those of you who know my Anderson Files address, you're welcome to send there. That's my main address. But since this is going out potentially on the internet, I put one that can be doxed. Anyway, about me, I've been a developer for a better part of 3 decades. Been here, there, and everywhere. Been to Bank of America 3 times, Warner Brothers twice, so on and so forth. Things I even forgotten I was at. I remember looked at this and I go, oh yeah, I worked at KPMG too. Some of them were even successful. But no, these were all successful projects, and a couple people here. Inveterate, as I put a sort of behind the scenes here, for the most part, occasional speaker, and Chilkat user for about 5 years. There's 2 or 3 people here who I've talked to, and I'll single out Temer here for just a moment, that aren't at 100%. I'm too probably am running a how can I say, light to moderate case of imposter syndrome, where I'm looking out in the audience and I'm seeing all these people that should be speaking right now. I'm like, oh, Eric Selja, you should be up here, that sort of thing. So just bear with me. We'll get started and get going. Hopefully I will be fine here and not be on such an adrenaline rush. It will be done in 20 minutes. But anyway, let's continue. Prerequisites, Chilkat. This session does not assume anything. Although if I could have a raise of hands, how many people have used Chilkat before? How many people have not? And this is great. Okay, so we are going to start in the beginning, sort of the 1 + 1 = 2 stage, to try to get everybody sort of at the same level and kind of work our way up. Okay, so if you've not seen it before, don't even know how to spell it, this subject's for you. Let's go on here. Session overview. We're going to go over the basics. I'm gonna double back here a little bit. The basics, and these are just rough percentages of what we're looking at. 40 to 50% of this presentation will be on just the Chilkat basics, just getting a ground floor by which we build up from. We're going to spend about 10% on tasks, maybe 20 to 30%. I don't even know this adds up to 100%. 20 to 30% on Chilkat events, and maybe 5 to 10% on the resources that are out there for Chilkat that you should know about. There could be others, but anyway. My exposure to Chilkat started about 5 years ago, as the slide indicated. And actually, and started with the email object, because that's what the client was using. And as a side point, I think that's where Chilkat has made its bread and butter, is with the email handling. We'll get into that in a minute. Anyway, so I immediately started to add access and assign methods for the properties and split all this out and kind of set it aside after a while. And the job got corroded, actually. Went away with the coronavirus. Ran into another company that had it, and it reinvigorated this idea of the wrapper framework around Chilkat. Chilkat, for those who don't know, well, now I'm getting ahead of myself. See, I'm going too fast here. But it has over 100 classes. We'll get into how many in a minute here. So, okay. Also in this session, we'll learn some VFP items as well. It won't be 100% Chilkat, but we'll learn some VFP things sort of wrapped around all these things that, at least speaking for myself, I've not heard at any other conference. So that's the session overview. Okay, what is Chilkat? Well, Chilkat is an API library of 102 active classes. Technically, right now, Chilkat has 104 classes. There is a class where they stripped out all the methods, and so right now it is worthless. It's an old class that they made it a point to discourage people from using. No methods, there's nothing you can do. There is a decremented class called named CSP for Microsoft's cryptographic service provider. We'll get into the actual name here in a minute. That's been deprecated. So 102 active classes. It's not a part of my. Oh well, let me get through here. Chilkat classes are fairly high level, and by high level, I'm talking about what they contain. We're so used to text boxes and combo boxes and so on and so forth, which are relatively in and of themselves primitive, that we build up to do different things, okay? These are tons of properties and methods to get contextual results from, say, email and REST and so on and so forth. The interface is relatively primitive. We're going to see it's just basically the command window, but there's some high-level classes out there: email, REST, JSON object. It goes on and on. Chilkat is a cross-language, cross-platform API. What am I saying here? What am I saying is write once, run everywhere. Chilkat runs on, obviously, Visual FoxPro, .NET, anything that has an active. The things that have been mentioned here should run under X#, Zojo. Anything that has an ActiveX component will be able to run Chilkat. Also, we're talking Swift. We're talking, in other words, iOS. Chilkat can run on Raspberry Pi. Okay, write once, run everywhere. If your code is working, you can take that to any other environment and it will run. Okay, it will work. It's kind of, how can I describe this? Let me go front here. No, we're not going to get there. Not yet. I call it, well, let me come up with a definition here, what I call growing the pie. We saw, I think it was the first session with Doug Hennig, where we saw Visual FoxPro interface with Excel, okay, where we're bringing a different app into the picture, into Visual FoxPro's purview, okay. And I'm sort of calling that growing the pie, meaning now Visual FoxPro is accelerating, is communicating with Excel to sort of widen the sphere that VFP can play in. We'll see one for, I see Rick back there. He's going to have one on the menu designer. That doesn't widen the pie. That's no dispersions. That's just I'm coming up with definitions here, just sort of dividing things out. Chilkat here not only widens the pie, it widens the pie. I mean, it brings an enormous amount of things into Visual that can fall under Visual FoxPro's purview. Okay, with that, I'm going to keep that up here. I'm going to go over. So what do I say expanding the pie? Let's do this. Okay, can you guys read that in the back? Okay, these are some of the classes that are being supported here. And we're talking just high level here. I just want to give you an idea of some of the things that are covered. ASN is, I believe, kind of file format. Atom class. How many people use Markdown Monster? I believe that's an Atom document. So you can read and write pieces of Atom documents. Amazon Web Services. Communicating across to, from, putting files up, files down, moving everything. Amazon Web Services. There's 3 classes here on Azure. There's one for a Google API. Okay, and we can come across here, Cloud Platform API and Google Apps API. There's a generic one, Auth-Util, which they use for the example, a Walmart API for generic clouds. We'll spend about 2 minutes here just to go over because I want to give you an idea of the breadth of the product. Bin data is handling binary data. Bounce email bounces. BZ2 is a compression. Cache is it's not really exposed that well. A couple for Windows certificates. A care set class for converting character data from one encoding to another. So you go across languages. CK date time is an older, they have 2 date time functions. This is the older one for dealing with date time. This is the older string command. Compression class to, compress, decompress. Create certificate store objects. Crypt2, the main encrypting class. Encrypt, decrypt, and all sorts of different formats. CSP is deprecated. CSR, certificate signing requests. CSVs you guys are familiar with. CSV files. Diffie-Hellman key exchange. And you don't need to know this, but I just want to give you an idea of the breadth. Directory for navigating directories. DKIM is another domain keys API. Digital signatures. A date object. This actually will become kind of important. Think of it as like a date time object, only except when you get the pieces out, it's not functions, it's properties. So the hour property will have the property of that. So that's the standard way of dealing with dates. Elliptical curve cryptography. EDSA is a generating keys. Email bundles. Email you know about. A group of emails is in a bundle. So think of that as a collection, similar to a form set that holds forms. Email bundles holds emails. File access is similar to Directory, but again, remember, this is across all sorts of different operating systems. This is not just Windows. This is Linux. This is Unix. This is, iOS, whatever. Okay. FTP2. This is a big class here. File transfer protocol. At least in documentation, I think this is the biggest class they have. It might be the biggest overall. Just the sheer number of properties and methods. Global for global settings, gzip, another compression. We're only up to the G's, folks. Hash table is like an array. 2 HTML classes, 3 HTTP classes. IMAP email. Java key store. Doesn't deal with Java, but just the updating the key stores. We have 5 classes to deal with JSON. Key container for deleting private keys and handy daddy logged class. Mailboxes is a collection of IMAP emails, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, or I'm sorry, mailboxes. Mail manager, this is an important one. Email builds your emails. You do everything you got everything you can do to build an email, but it's the mailman that sends them. Okay, it's one thing to build them, it's another to send them. Mail manager is important. So that's how you send them out. Message set, another collection, in this case, IMAP emails. MHT format, MIME email, Intel and protocol, 2.0 auths. And I'm deliberately trying to go PDF. This is a recent one. Came in version 85. Handling PIM formats, PFX formats, PCKS. Private key, public key classes. Don't forget the one here in the middle, in between them, PRNG, pseudo random number generator. Good way for generating random passwords for your client. REST, that's a big one here, folks. RSA, which is an encryption component. You've heard of RSS feeds, there's your support for that. 2 for smart cards, 2 for handling smart cards. These are fairly recent. Secure copy protocol. Okay, again, go on. Secure string, hold that thought for secure string when we get the string builder. I'm not even sure what server send event is. 3 SFTP classes, a socket class, a spider class. We're actually going to do a demo of web crawlers. 3 classes to support shell sessions here. SSH keys. Stream, you want to build your mini Netflix? Here you go. You want to transfer a 100 gig file? Stream it. String builder. There is a CK string component. That's the older version of their string handling. This is the newer version, came out in version 58. However, you could see some of the things in some of the pieces in memory, and that's what secure string came out. You know, for your passwords, you probably want to use your secure string. Came out in version 71. We're up to version 95 right now. tar is like zip. It's a conversion, but that's mostly Unix. Task and task chain, set those aside. We'll talk about those specifically. We got trusted roots, Unix class, uploading tables, just a simple uploader. URL, this is similar to the date objects where you split out the individual pieces. You can take pieces and put together to make a date object. Similar format. You can give it a URL, it'll split it out to all the pieces, or you can take all the pieces and make a URL out of it. Not, very light class. WebSocket, similar to socket. 3 XML class, actually more than 4 XML classes. XMP, which is camera metadata. And finally, we end up with 3 zip classes. Catch your breath. We got one more. I got an email from customer support at 10 o'clock today. They said it was okay. Let me see if we have another one coming out in the next version here. Let me see if I can find it. And of course, since I'm on here we go. What's planned for the next version, the 2 big new features. Right now I'm pushing hard to get out release by the end of the month. 2 new features will be a new DNS class coming out. The ability to use custom DNS servers and DNS over TLS throughout Chilkat. The other feature has to do with certs and keys in the cloud to make it possible to apply digital signatures using cloud services such as Azure or AWS. Okay, even if somebody out there, we went through that 3-4 minute spiel of what they are, can't use it yet, you should be aware of it. Okay, you should be aware of all that it can do. That's growing the pie. All right, so now that we've put you to sleep with that. Okay, all right. Let me do that again. Chilkat basics. Let's start with the basics. Let's assume that you've just learned how to spell it there, Chilkat. Chilkat data types. Chilkat has a kind of a smallish set of data types. And we'll start with long, which, as I said, it's the same as the integer VFP integer data type. It's a little bit funny, and putting all the Chilkat VFP together. Well, what about things like 107.2? In dealing with Chilkat, I've only seen whole numbers. I haven't seen fractional numbers yet. So, haven't seen them. My terminology, wait a minute. I went back here. Bit. This is me. This is my terminology for things that are true, false, or success, fail. You can get a 0 for a failure, 1 for a success, or true, whatever. It depends on what is being asked. I'm calling that a bit. Just park that. String is the same as character. Variant is very similar to VFP's var binary. Object, I'm talking about a Chilkat object here. Conceptually, it's the same as a Visual FoxPro object, but obviously not the same. Undocumented, date. It looks like if I were to hazard a guess, if I had discovered Chilkat 10 years before I did, I would see date. It looks like something that they pulled the documentation out of. But it's exactly the same as Visual FoxPro's date time type. So we'll talk about that in later on. And all those types have read-only equivalent except for object. So string read-only, variant read-only, long read-only, what I'm calling bit read-only, which is still long read-only. Okay? Somewhat basic. Okay. Why would you use the undocumented date time? Well, like I said, as we'll see, we'll come up with an example for it. It returns a Visual FoxPro date value, a type T. We'll see that. If you're going to go cross-platform and you're going to do it 100%, I'd probably shy away from it. But in practice, a lot of people plan to do cross-platform and they never get there. What I would do, I would have no problem using it. And if we had to go cross-platform for, Linux or Unix, and, Swift doesn't know a thing about Visual FoxPro date times, then I would convert at that point. Okay, what is Chilkat VFP? From a high level, it is a wrapper around the Chilkat objects. The VFP class name matches the Chilkat class name. And you see there's sort of an asterisk there with a little bit of a wink. More on that later. In other words, we'll go over this in a minute because I will instantiate a Chilkat email, and you'll see, to a variable, and it's Chilkat _9_5_0.email. The Visual FoxPro one is named email. In theory, because of backward compatibility is built into Chilkat VFP, you could replace that call with the Visual FoxPro one, and your app will still run, assuming, of course, no bugs, et cetera, et cetera. So I see that last thing there. I used reference. I think I meant some other word there. I see references mentioned twice. In Chilkat VFP, you still have an object. It's just kept in the Chilkat property, and basically the VFP object just communicates with that. Okay. Any questions? All right. Let's see if we get a demo here. We'll demo what I just said. From a very high level, as we'll see, this is not the greatest description, but it's the best one I can come up with. Chilkat VFP does everything and nothing. Okay. And I don't know how to describe it. It tries its best to make things discoverable for you, the developer, but still you, the developer, have to learn it. Okay. Let's go here. So here, this is just, first of all, can you see that in the back of the room? Or do I, let me see, I'm at I'm at 24 bold, so hopefully that's acceptable. You know, let me back up here. Chilkat installation. Windows 11, if you're on a 64-bit OS, Visual FoxPro is 32-bit. You want the one that matches your application. In this case, Visual FoxPro is 32-bit, unless you're using Chin's 64-bit version, then it would be the 64-bit. But for all practical purposes for this discussion, we're talking about the release version of Visual FoxPro. You want the 32-bit version. I think I got one, a 2-year license for $419. It's quite reasonable. Okay. So here we go. We have instantiated a Chilkat email object. Let me before I even begin, let me tell you where this is literally what I did for day one. Figured out how to instantiate it. Then I went YY dot. Now I know you can't see this in the back room. Don't worry about it. There's the drop down, okay, for the different methods and so on and so forth and properties. Okay, and I looked at that and went, okay, now what? So I went to the online documentation for it, and I think I want that. And this is the online documentation for email for what we just saw. Okay, and the documentation is extensive. And again, don't try to read it. Just we're going to get high level. There's how to instantiate it, a list of the properties. Here's a list of the properties. Here's a list of the methods. And I looked at that, 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 and it was like looking up at a skyscraper. Okay. I'm still going. Okay. And it was literally, okay, now what? That is what ChilkatVFP is attempting to cover as best possible. So let me do that. So anyway, so you've seen that, okay? So let's just do this for the sake of argument. Oop, I didn't want that. Hold on here. Okay, it's empty. We're going to say wow from name equals Anderson. From name. There's that. Empty from name. No. Okay. You know how to use Chilkat. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Okay. Anyway, okay. It's like, oh, I kind of get the idea, and every step was like, okay, where do I go from here? So, any questions?
Not from the online audience.
Okay.
We have one here.
Oh, please.
To get Chilkat onto your computer in the first place,
You download it from ChilkatSoft.com. You get you can download it right now. All of you can download it right now and get a free 30-day license to basically an evaluation copy. ChilkatSoft.com will get you there, and install the 32-bit version, and away you go. Okay. So again, we're talking high level here because we're talking basics. ChilkatVFP advantages. ChilkatVFP class properties and method names match the Chilkat names, which kind of makes sense. We looked at from name. If I called that Zizix, you'd have a tough time finding it. Surprise, surprise, the email has from name. There are some exceptions that were unavoidable, sometimes involving mostly Visual FoxPro methods. Sometimes like stumbled into an add object, but that was easy to say, hey, don't use this, go to add object 2, things like that. The big name collision was the MIME class had a property called name. That one was hard to do. I actually learned some things, and it's like I actually fought it. Try to put an access and assign method on the name property. Things get really interesting, and FoxPro gets really buggy really fast. So, but I can kind of understand that. But barring the onesie twosie things, they match. Okay, validations. By the way, with Chilkat, there's no dialogue telling you anything. There's no dialogue. It is literally you get a question mark. Now there'll be common methods and properties that you can get results from that in essence be true or false, but you don't get touchy-feely type responses. Validation, class level version validation, if relevant. What that means is, like, for instance, I mentioned the PDF class where the latest and greatest version right now is version 95. PDF class came out in version 85. If you're running on version 62, you don't have a PDF class. We have to take care of that to make sure to with ChilkatVFP to die gracefully versus sort of no response at all. Property method level version validation, if relevant. Well, obviously they keep adding methods and versions with different versions. ChilkatVFP has to handle that. Property value validation. This actually is, I don't want to say, a major importance, but it's something to consider. If you were to set something with Chilkat, let's say you have a list of 3 items, but you set it with like a 4th, it'll just be blank, or you have to query the last method success or something like that to see, hey, it really didn't take it. In this case, if you had those 3 items and you didn't like it, you will ChilkatVFP again is a wrapper, so it will pre-validate before it passes it to Chilkat, and it will say, hey, you didn't pass validation. You can actually go into the validation method to see the 3 good values. Okay, logical values / bit values. You can receive a true or false from a method or property if the LReturn bit as logical property of the ChilkatVFP object is set to true. Why isn't that the default? ChilkatVFP is trying to be as backward compatible as possible, but hold that thought if that's what you would like to return, especially for the people who have not developed in ChilkatVFP before. Remind me to talk about the iChilkat class library. Okay, so that's that's nice, but it's not a big deal. But you can still say if whatever and go on your merry way. Offline documentation. This actually turns out to be important. The help, which actually is good, is here. Well, not everybody has an internet connection at all times. Okay. Hold on here. Property documentation is kept within each ChilkatVFP property, which ties to a Chilkat property, has an access and an assign method. They're all hidden. You don't see them because otherwise the class browser gets too muddy. Okay, you can turn on hidden methods in the class browser if you really want to see them, but you kind of don't. The method documentation is obviously kept with the method itself, so you don't have to be connected to the internet. you have the documentation there in front of you. Description detail with VFP property method. This relates to discovery, and it's basically, well, I'll wait till we'll have a demo here shortly. Design time IntelliSense. It's not everybody knows this feature, but it's to encourage browsing of other objects within Visual FoxPro. And as mentioned, as best as I can determine under the documentation, ChilkatVFP is backward compatible with prior Chilkat versions. I have code within ChilkatVFP that branches based on version 22 of Chilkat. You know, that's what the release notes noted. I've been over the release notes 16 times, and every time I find something else. So it tries to be based on the documentation. If you've got version 47 and you've had something that's been running for 10 years and you've forgotten about it, but it still runs, you still should be able to use ChilkatVFP to get a better feel for what it can do. Okay. Parameters. Chilkat, for what I call bit parameters, accepts 0 or 1. I will translate them for you. If you want to send true, false, you're welcome to do so. The second item is actually fairly important. You can send ChilkatVFP objects as object parameters through ChilkatVFP. Why is that important? I have probably, for my own edification, I probably have converted about 400 of their examples and cross-referenced all the properties and methods just for my own edification. And then you occasionally run them to see, hey, what, does this really work? I mean, you get a pattern and you're like checking it and it's like, it's not working. And I spend 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes trying to figure out why it's not working. And it's like, oh crap, I can't pass LO email. I got to pass LO email.ochilkat. And I do it every single time. And so this became enough of an issue that version 1.21 or whatever, I just went through the whole product in quotes, and allowed you to be able to send a ChilkatVFP method and, through ChilkatVFP, and it will find the Chilkat and pass that through, come back from the method and reattach. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it, because trust me, I've done it 17, 18 times and I forget every time. Okay, undocumented Chilkat methods and properties are included. There's more than one reason to do it. Some of them have utility value. Also, again, if you're on version 47 and they decided to make it undocumented in version 74, your thing still runs. You need to do it. All ChilkatVFP objects contain a release method for object cleanup. This is more important due to the way the VFP environment works. You kind of want to use the release method. With each ChilkatVFP object, it can hold up to 5 other objects. They all begin with property O. For instance, there's Chilkat. There's an O event handler. There's a O message service for displaying messages. There's a method for that. There's another one for handling access methods when a property is accessed, another one for when there are assigns. And so anyway, this just kind of unwinds it nicely. Plus it also, by definition, if you want to add your own thing to it, additional cleanup. And it does come into play. At least one of the objects, I remember they had a dispose method, and it's like, well, why don't I put it in there? Let it, it's some sort of internal object cleanup. And it's like, why not put that in there? So it's just part of the product cleaning itself up. Okay. Demo. All right. Let me see here. Okay. So let's look at ChilkatVFP. Let's do that. Okay. I think let me come over here. Let me just check something. Okay, so that's where I'm doing it. Okay. All right. I'm going to mention, it was mentioned in the opening ceremony that we've got patrons from 15 different countries. This is a message service. If you guys want to say after this, convert. Well, that's hard to see here, but I'm happy to add other languages to this. So German. Woody, I know you're out there somewhere. Jen, I know you're out there somewhere. So anyway, these are some of the texts being used that could be, if you want it in your native language, just send it to me. So there's some of that. So let's actually do some work here. Okay, we did that. GZ equals I think we're set up here. There we go. So let's do, that's a new one. So we can say ZZ dot from name equals, well, here, let's cut and paste. You get it, of course. Okay, so anyway, so it's just, all it's doing is communicating, saying, here, save this in that field, and away we go, of course. So let's do zz.prepend headers 0. We can say zz.l return it as logical equals true, and there it returns false. We can turn it back, and not very exciting, but anyway, we're trying to make this as easy as possible. You probably want that. So let's look at a few. Well, let's see. Let's do that. Actually, I should have done a question mark, but that's okay. Let's just take a look at a few things again. Oh, well, I think I should have it here. Let's look at our email just because we were looking at that. We'll go over the class. We'll go over the class structure later. That's coming up later. Don't worry about it right now. So there's this is a property. It's body there. That is the documentation there. Okay. Don't worry about how it works. Let's get a method. You get the idea. There it is. You have it. Another thing that we showed about, how we instantiated the Chilkat object, and it was like, okay, now what? This will be, of course, I released it. This will be a little bit better, but at least we've got, now I know you can't read it up there, don't worry, but what you do is you have tooltip help, at least some of it. You have, 256 characters worth. So I'm not asking you to read it, just to see you've got that flickering, okay? So this comes up in a number of places. Whatever. You can do it here, and, you get the same thing, so on and so forth. Obviously, the tooltip is too small to read, but you get some chance to discover here, folks. And that also shows up in the class browser down here when we get into properties and methods. Well, I'm going to go over that. So there's help there, and it helps in discovery. At least as it stands right now, you don't have that with Chilkat. Okay, so let me see. Do I want to? I may go back to this here. Let me see. Let me see if I want to. Yeah, I want to show this now. There we go. So anyway, so again, from a standpoint, it's just, you've got the object here in Chilkat, you've got the object sitting on top, and you're sort of seeing it in one dimension. You know, you're dealing with this, and then it's communicating with Chilkat. I'm going to pull up the debugger, some of the debugger here. I think I want the watch window. This is right now in the FoxPro window. I think I want the watch window. So let's, do we still have ZZ? No, we don't. Okay, we'll give back ZZ again. Oh, yeah, that's right. So there's ZZ. That's just the object. That's fine. We don't care. ZZ.OChilkat. There it is. There's a, and you know, there's, you know, it is a, you know, there's a custom base class. I mean, I'm not trying to trick you guys. I mean, just trust me. You know, the Chilkat is bare bones, just a bunch of things like that. So let me get rid of the dockable here. That bothers me. So now we're going to look at zz.ochilkat.version. Okay, 9.5.0.95. Now we're going to look at the zz.version, and it's blank. Is this a problem? Okay. The answer is no. Okay. I sort of gave this visual deliberately. Okay. We are looking at it from the ChilkatVFP point of view. From the Visual FoxPro side, we have not touched the version property. Okay. When you touch the version property, it fills in. With the debugger, you're kind of looking at 90 degrees now. Now we've got ChilkatVFP and we've got Chilkat side by side, and you start seeing the differences between the two. It is not an issue because you have not addressed, you from the VFP standpoint haven't dealt with the version property at all. Okay, the moment you do, it fills in. Okay, so I'm going to do that again. Did I just hang? Oh, come on. I just hung. Cool. All right. Ignore that. Now, great. Now you got to watch me set everything up again. Because all the fonts, let me see, all the fonts are wrong. Yeah, the fonts are wrong. Sorry, guys. Well, this is one way to not get me to finish in 20 minutes.
Not an issue.
All right, bear with me while I do that. All right, so now I've got to set this up again. Okay, let's do that. As we'll see in the future, perhaps in the future, the class browser will keep the font setting, but the object browser won't. To the share VFP apps Chilkat set class live to. All right, so YY equals new object. Okay, fortunately, I think this kept their settings. So what did I want to do? That's what I wanted to do. Okay, YY, did I call it YY? YY. YY. In this case, what I want to do, just to show you that, we'll put that up there. And just that, you know, H equals YY dot version. So one of the things of this presentation is that will be difficult for you, the audience, is contextually you're going to be on one hand, you don't know how to we came in not knowing how to spell Chilkat, but then we'll be talking about, well, you've seen problems in my code and you guys are going to fix my code for me, from a very, all of a sudden we're going to be, from a low level to a very, very high level. But in general the general thrust of this is the developer as a user of ChilkatVFP. That may be hard to, it will be juxtaposing a lot. Okay, anyway, this is a line that ran. It doesn't matter. That's, that's code that runs every time that, wow, I GPF'd again. Okay, then. All right. Well, we'll hold off on that demo. That's as far as I wanted to take it anyway. Any questions?
Not from the
Okay.
virtual ones.
Oh, yes.
What other things have you done with Chilkat besides?
I've done, well, there's a couple of, well, first of all, there's a couple of samples that we're going to go over. There's FTP, there's spider classes. I've worked with mailman, et cetera, et cetera. That's why we spent 4 minutes going over all those things. There's so much in there. It's hard to cover it all. Okay. Okay, now we're back to, okay, we just learned how to spell Chilkat. Here are some common Chilkat properties. And these are kind of grouped together. Debug log file path. This is fairly common. If this is set to this is for debug, obviously for debugging, that's the name. If set to a file path causes each method or property to automatically append its last error text to the specified log file. Their naming convention is slightly different. They call debug what we think of debug. I'm sorry. What they say debug log file path is like a full path with the path and the file. Okay, the whole thing. Verbose logging, if set to 1, gives you tons more information. I don't recommend that in the beginning. If it's an intractable problem, that's different. Okay. How are we doing on time, by the way?
You have just under 25 minutes
To go?
to go.
Wow. Oh, I gotta start going here, folks. Okay. Last error, HTML, and then we got text and XML. Last binary result, last string result length. It hit me actually just a few minutes ago. I was out between sessions here that you can actually program the Chilkat method not to write to a variable and just reference, let's say if it's a character string, just reference the last string result method. We're not going to make it all the way through, folks. Okay, we're going to have to blast through this. Get impl address string required for every ActiveX object, ignore it. Last method success is a workhorse. Okay, you send a method, goes to Chilkat. How do you know it worked? This is how you know it worked. Additional Chilkat features. Arrays are zero-based. Okay. When multiple objects are passed through a Chilkat method. Okay, now we're going to go through. Oh man. I'll give an example here. I'm gonna have to. It's almost like I need more time here, folks. But we got to stick to the schedule. Oh yeah, cosine. I wanted to go here. Cosine. This is a method in the Trip2 class. It takes 3 objects. Okay, that's okay, and you don't have to worry about the code here, but this is where it calls the Chilkat object. Okay, I'm passing 3 objects. And I get a last method success is 1 or true. How do I? Okay, what now? Did one object change? Did two objects change? Did three objects change? If it's two objects, which two objects? Only worry about the last object in the set. Okay, that's the one that will change. Okay, if last method success is true, something probably changed on that object. Okay. All right, let's continue. Chilkat date data type. It's undocumented. Not documented method property returns a date data type, returns a Visual FoxPro date time value. Okay. Dare I do this again? I don't think I'm gonna, I think I'm gonna have to jettison that. You're gonna have to trust me on that. We gotta get through things. Demo, let's see. Damn, there's so much to show. Okay, I'm just going to show just the basic structure of things here, of how, and this is actually important for you as a developer. The way, let me pull this up. The way things are structured are, we'll have a class where stuff is happening, followed by what is basically an empty class, followed by something where something is happening, followed by an empty class, followed by something where stuff is happening. Okay. All right. This allows you a space to put bug fixes in. Okay. That's your play area. If, in case I screw something up, you can put things in the iBase class and have it fixed. This is true for everything. By the way, I really like the class browser because I can tell us the class browser and structure in and of itself tells a story. Okay. We have a base class, an iBase, which is empty for put bug fixes in, various others, base Chilkat, empty iBase Chilkat, and which this is common to all methods, and then the individual instance class itself. Base event handler, so on and so forth. What you don't see here, and there will be a point here, is we don't have anything branching off of Atom, let's say. In theory, if I continued this, there should be an iAtom, so on and so forth. I put that in and the class became too muddy. You couldn't see what's going on. And so to get around that, there is an iChilkat as a finesse that you can put your fixes and updates here. For people that haven't done ChilkatVFP or wish to, you can use the write expression or whatever, set all your return bit as logical to true in all these objects, and then it's handled for you. I'm going to stay away from that. Okay. All right. All right. Let's see here. Okay, we got to catch up here. Chilkat code flow. This is important. Generally, you'll have setup code, whatever it is to set it up. You call a Chilkat method. You test the result from last method success. If it's successful, you set up some more stuff, call another Chilkat method, and it just keeps going like that. Okay. If not successful, you bail out with frequently a last error text. Okay. That's from a high level how things operate. Okay. Chilkat tasks. Okay. I think I'm gonna oh man, I wish I could have shown the object browser, folks. Task represents a single task to be run, and this is important, in a background thread. Okay. The task chain represents a chain of asynchronous tasks to run. Okay. Tasks are used for data processing that is not tightly coupled. Okay. We do our data entry apps. It's by definition tightly coupled. We want to get the response as soon as possible. Okay. Tightly coupled, uncoupled items would be as listed below: sending out emails, compressing, decompressing files, moving files, uploading, downloading files, whatever it is where it gets done when it gets done. Okay. Even things like invoice generation. We'll generate them all overnight, that sort of thing. It's important they get done, but not necessarily right this moment in time. Chilkat methods will come in pairs. One will end in async, one will not. The async is the one for the task. The async object doesn't do anything unless it's in a task chain and running. Think of it as a recipe. It doesn't, whereas the monitor will do it right then and there. The async is like, this is the recipe that I'm going to do at the correct moment in time. Okay. What is a task? A task is a unit of work. This is an example of uploading a file. We connect async, we remote dir async, we put file async, we disconnect async. All the above are tasks. Okay, put together, kept in a task chain. You tell the task chain go, and it just operates in that order. Okay. I'm going to have to blow by this. All these status properties. Task chains act like a Visual FoxPro container. I use the form set as an example, where form sets contain forms, task chains contain tasks. And it's my suspicion that they actually internally are the same object. Okay, we're going to blast by through these things. Demo. Let's see if we can get a demo going. Dare I? Let's see. We've hung twice. What do we do here? Let's do here. Task download, test run. And I want to run the FXP actually. Yeah, let's do that. Okay, right now stuff is happening. Shoot. Let's go here. Let's go in the FTP download 2. What you don't see here is, well, stuff is downloading while we can la-di-da over here and say hello task. Of course, you can't see it now because it's blown up. LA task chain dot status. We're la-di-dying. Okay, it's completed. Okay, we already completed it. What you guys don't know is, you know, it was sitting there waiting for the download to complete. That actually downloaded all the materials for not this session here, but for the one in what was it, May? So it downloaded all the files and, you know, for the conference in May. And that did in the background. Chilkat event. How are we doing on time here?
You have 12 minutes.
Okay. Okay. This is interesting. Well, it's all interesting. Chilkat events. Backing up a step. Chilkat tasks. ChilkatVFP doesn't do a lot with Chilkat tasks right now. Chilkat events, different story. There's a lot here that ChilkatVFP does. Provides the ability to execute user code when an event occurs. Similar to bind events, 34 Chilkat classes have events. 28 basic, 6 have extended events. We'll go over those in a second. Basic methods, abort check. This is like, you know, something that you would use to, you're going to periodically check to say, hey, I want to bail out of this. You know, every 5 minutes, I'm going to run this something and see if I need to bail out. Binary data and tasks completed text data are unused. % done progress info, those you can get values back. Think if we're uploading 10 tables, you might get some progress info on the file that you're on, the number of bytes you've uploaded, so on and so forth. You can get that information back and display it to the user. Task completed is undocumented, and as I found out later, it is supposed to be undocumented because it's believed not to work with ActiveX. It's not a VFP thing, it is an ActiveX thing. Okay. Classes with extended events. These neatly fit on one slide, so I put it on here. In fact, these are all big classes. The one with the most extended events is the zip. I mean, it's like so event ridden, it's not funny. VFP provides extensive support. To turn on event handling for a given object, set the add event handler property to true. And it will do all the setup for you. Some of the things that Chilkat events, this is handled with the implements clause of define class. It came in VFP 7, which is kind of an unimportant fact until something we get to later, which I don't think I'm going to be able to demonstrate here, but I will blast through this. It's all handled. What happens when Chilkat VFP event handling is turned on? We check to see if the class supports it. Picks one of three classes, one of three programs, depending on the version you're on. The event handler is instantiated and things are stored. It has to turn the auto yield on to true and it leaves it on. This is one-way street. Okay, it has to listen for things. Each Chilkat event mapping corresponds to 4 associated methods. I think I'm going to have to jettison Y here. Chilkat VFP encourages but does not require a separation of responsibilities in your code. I'm sort of jettisoning here. For background, check out, and I'm serious here, Stephen Black's articles on hooks and anchors. Came out like 1997, 1998, and it was seminal work. I call it, my pithy three-word comment on it is it's too much granola, meaning it's hard to digest, but that's on me. I needed, we were so used to procedural coding at that time that I kept looking at it and learning from it to sort of turn my head into an object-oriented situation. It was hard to digest, but I needed to fix my diet. Demo, let's see if we can show this. This is, okay, we don't need that anymore. Let's go to a spider cache. I think that's where we want to be. I'm going to run this. That is, if VFP doesn't blow up on me. Unfortunately, the fonts are small. We're going to have to leave that right now. Spider test. Let's see if that does its thing. All it's doing, that's a cache going on. I wanted to show both at the same time. What it's doing is it's going to these sites and building a cache. All you need to know is stuff is happening. Work is happening. Okay. If I run it again, it's gonna bow out right away because it has these cached. So let's do this. I'm going to, we're going to do that. Fortunately, I can't get into this too much. See, I want to be here. Let's do this. No, I went too high. No, I need to be here. This is where I need to be. I need the abort check. There we go. We just ran that program that did that. Let's do this. Control W, Control W, Control W. Let's get this out of the way. Let's run this again and see what we get. We're going to, well, no, we got to do this. We're going to do spider test. Okay, we're getting abort check events. We've got events as it does its thing, and you can do whatever the hell you want. Okay, just to show I'm not cheating here, and there's a reason for this. Let's go into here. Let's go into spider. Yeah, that's probably where I want to be. Spider events abort check. Let's just do this. Yeah, I'm making it up as I go. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. And you see that thing I just put in there is showing up on screen. We have events. We just did it to abort check, but for some of the other ones, for mail manager, the email coming in, okay, zip, anything happening in a zip table, you can hook. Okay, so let's get back to our slides. Programming event handling. This gets weird, folks. I don't know why it works this way. It is voodoo, and I'm half serious. It works, and literally I'm up here saying I don't know why. Okay. There, I don't want to print. Let me take a look at that program here. Let me see if I can show. Okay. And this, by the way, this is part of the ChilkatVFP download. So you can get it, search it, you can get it off of Thor or put it in the browser, put double quote ChilkatVFP, close the quote, search, it comes up. What is, where is it? Where's the private? Right here, the event handler. Okay. If I do local, it doesn't work. This is the event handler that holds it. Now, okay, there we're storing it. Here we tie it to the event handler, the actual event handler object. Okay, you can't hear it here, but there's nothing after this. Okay, you can hear the, from people up here can hear the bell. All I'm saying is that it's holding the value. It's not doing anything with it. Nothing. But you need to do that to make it work. It is weird. I don't know why. I don't even know how I found it. There's no document, I don't know if it's something I did in the construction of this that's wrong, but it works. Okay. You don't have to worry about it. It's in the white paper of the basic construction of what you need to do. Okay. No, I don't want that. Okay, F5, don't go to the beginning. That's what I was afraid of. Okay. Okay, extensive support. We want to get to the voodoo portion. Okay, yeah. If I hit F5, it's
at the very bottom. There's a picture of a movie screen, a screen like this one.
here.
Right in that whole group, the rightmost one next to the slide.
This here?
No. All the way in the status bar for. Yeah,
Okay.
now go over to the right. That one, not that one. The next one.
Slideshow? Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Event odds and ends. Per Chilkat, event callbacks from asynchronous method calls. I mentioned it regarding we were in tasks, the task completed event. Generally not possible from ActiveX. So the documentation says it probably doesn't work. Hard-coded DLL path not necessary. This is important. Unfortunately, I never got to show the object browser and what's going on with that. It's that guy. Oh, that's right. You're down here. All right, let's pull this up. The font's going to be wrong. You're going to have to live with it. Interfaces, Chilkat events. Let's just do FTP2 events. We'll do new. We'll do program. Don't worry about it. We'll get this. This will make more sense when we get here. Where my Chilkat is installed is here. Okay. The documentation says you need a reference to that. Okay. Okay. So it get back to this came in version 7. Microsoft was imminently about to release an OS right at that time. It occurred a month later. An exciting version called Windows XP. Okay. Things have changed since then. So back to our event callbacks. Unfortunately, you can't see it. You don't see anything regarding that path. There's nothing regarding, where that stuff is installed. Okay. Right there. That is, there. It doesn't appear to be necessary. Okay. I say it doesn't appear to be for 10 and 11. I have no problem. If you have a problem, you're going to try hard coding that path to see if it'll work. But I am having no problem with that. All right. Let's see how we're doing. Implements clause is pretty flaky, guys. VFP acts weird. I'll try to come up with one example without boring you guys to tears. Let's go back to our spider. I'm just going to pull this out. Okay, this shouldn't be a problem. We'll be quick about it. At least I hope so. Okay, that's just the spider event called if I'm just going to do this, end if, save. Obviously, you'd think that program 2 save. Well, compile. Don't tell me it's going to work now. There it goes. It doesn't even compile. All I did was put an if true around the procedure and it fails. It's really flaky, guys. I swear to this, I had a bad reference here at one point to the as clause here. It doesn't really matter, but then I went and changed it, and I swear I got different behavior. It's really weird. I think because of that hard-coded path issue in 7, everybody kind of forgot about it because it was too brittle. You have to know where it is on everybody else's machine in order to make it work, at least at the time. So I think that's why it kind of faded away. But this framework has put it together for all 34 of those events. Resources. Homepage, chilkatsoft.com. There are FoxPro examples here. It'll take you right to it. Web API examples, release notes, online tools. This can be pretty interesting, where you got JSON here, you paste your JSON and the generated code ends up down here. It's pretty neat, folks, what you can do. Archive forum posts. Summary. We learned today how to spell Chilkat, C-H-I-L. Okay, and of course the basics, the change, the events, and resources. And sorry, I had to jettison a lot of the slides here. There were a lot of things I would have liked to go over. For instance, the object browser. I have a newfound positive opinion of it. How's my time? I probably got like.
Your time.
Okay, give me 30 seconds here. One of the things I didn't get a chance to go over is there are limitations to both the class browser and the object browser. They run out of nodes and they don't tell you. Okay, it'll just work like nothing happened. And it really shows up in the object browser. In my paper, it says there's like 2,800 methods and 1,061 properties. Here in version 96 or 95, it says the same thing. It just runs out of nodes and doesn't tell you. It stopped counting. So I know the number is just more than that. That's all I know. That's true for the browser, especially true for the component gallery. So, but it's also true for the class browser. In fact, if you look at the actual object itself, it says it puts a limit of 5,000. So, okay. So there's some resources. Thank you. Thanks for your time.